Saludos. My name is Tania Ramos Otón, but my students and their families know me as Miss Ramos or simply Ramos. I'm excited to speak with you today about the importance of recognizing and leveraging the cultural and linguistic assets of our English learners, or ELs. Embracing an asset-based approach is important in today's diverse classrooms. It is a mindset that needs to shift from looking at differences as deficits to strengths, really making our educational setting rich. Culturally responsive teaching is about appreciating the rich backgrounds of all of our students and building a welcoming and affirming learning environment. Culture impacts how students learn, their communication styles, and how they interact with one another. By realizing these influences, we open up a space for an exclusive classroom. That is where cultural competence comes in. This involves sensitivity to and respect for the cultures represented within our classroom. According to Diaz Rico, it is by way of cultural competence that we are able to make meaningful contact with our students by taking into consideration their experiences and heritage. We can simply apply text and resource choices that will reflect the cultures and experiences of our students. For example, when teaching a class of students from diverse Asian backgrounds, we may want to include literature as A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith, which allows for discussion about family resilience and cultural identity. This way, students can view the representation of their lives within what they read and find it more relatable and interesting. Having knowledge of our students' cultural norms and values is also key. Some have stipulated that speaking in front of a group can be uncomfortable for some students, while this can be extremely exciting for others. We have it within our power to provide students with small group discussions and presentations with large groups, which would allow participants to engage in activities that better suit their comfort levels for participation as dictated by their respective cultural backgrounds. It also involves structuring a classroom environment to embrace diversity. It includes the use of artifacts from other cultures in decorating our space, visuals that represent the students' various backgrounds, and acknowledgement of important holidays and dates in different cultures. These may include celebrating Diwali, Lunar New Year, Hispanic Heritage Month, or Black History Month. These things have the potential to make students feel seen and appreciated. Integrating these practices allows us to move towards the goal of having a culturally responsive classroom that supports all learners. The role of culture in student learning is foundational and multifaceted. Culture influences how students process information, interact with their peers, and view their respective roles within the classroom. In such a culturally responsive environment, the students will not only learn language skills, but will also build a sense of belonging that forms the backbone of learning. It nurtures pride when students see their culture reflected in the curriculum, raising their motivation to learn. With project-based learning, it's realistic to include academic content into students' cultural backgrounds. For example, if students are learning about ecosystems, they could research some local flora and fauna typical for their country of origin and heritage and connect learning of those to their personal experiences. Such involvement enriches their perception and encourages them to contribute towards the discussion process. Also, collaboration and interaction with peers have greater impact in language learning. By making them work in small, diversified groups, we can provide students with ample opportunity to learn from other cultural backgrounds. This stands as one of the key points towards language development. For example, when English learners are working on a specific project with native speakers, they get to implement their gained knowledge into practice in real life situations. High expectations, coupled with culturally responsive teaching, create an environment where all students can achieve greatness. In addition, creating an inclusive classroom environment surpasses physical space, but incorporates the emotional climate as well. Setting ground rules for respectful conversations allows students to feel more comfortable sharing their cultural experiences without fear of judgment. Even events like circle time or community meeting time in a classroom, where students are encouraged to share, facilitate this concept. For example, a teacher can begin with a question, such as asking what their favorite holiday or family tradition is, which could raise that sense of empathy among classmates. In return, with understanding and respect for their culture, we can better create a learning environment for our students, along with a more profound engagement in course materials, allowing them to grow both academically and socially. Supporting and celebrating cultural diversity in our institutional practice is essential for creating an inclusive learning environment that respects and values every student's background. One effective approach is to integrate literature and resources that reflect a wide range of cultural perspectives. For example, while studying family, community, and resilience themes, we can include such texts as Inside Out and Back Again by Tan Ha Lai. It's a narration by a young Vietnamese girl about coming to America. Literature that reflects our student lives helps personalize the connection for them and validate their cultural journey. Consider activities that involve the community for a more enriching learning experience. Possibly having parents or community leaders come in to share stories of their culture or certain customs will help bring a sense of community and belonging. One example could be a cultural heritage day where families bring in their traditions, food, and customs, enabling the students to be proud of their heritage while appreciating the diversity among their peers. This not only could help in creating a friendly and welcoming atmosphere, but could also help the students look to each other to learn from each other. Another effective strategy involves possibly the use of multimedia resources, integrating different cultural videos, music, and art could create interest and not bore the students. Another example could be teaching some historical events that can include showing a short documentary clip or taking a virtual tour of museums from other cultures to further their understanding and foster critical discussions. Drawing on students' home languages as a resource for instruction can also enhance student learning. Providing opportunities in an ongoing project discussion for students to share their thoughts and ideas using their home language also creates a bilingual context for instruction. It not only leads to a deeper understanding of their thoughts, but also affirms their individual identity and their culture. According to Zuniga, the inclusion of students' home languages into the class discussions enhance clarity and definitely increases involvement of the learners. The practice of employing cultural diversity builds into and enhances the curriculum while it grounds and affirms identities of our ELs, in which learning becomes far more relevant and interesting to them. Special needs of our English learners can be met by first recognizing individual strengths and identities. Each one comes with his or her set of experiences, skills, and challenges. These differences must be acknowledged for better support. It involves things like differentiated instruction in the form of varied language proficiency levels for our students. We are able to provide tiered assignments so that at different levels, students are working on the same content. For instance, if we're teaching about ecosystems, then for those who need the extra support, graphic organizers may be provided. We challenge the more advanced learners with the assignment of creating a presentation or report based on their research. Another important one would be taking care of the social and emotional needs of the ELs. Knowing the emotional context where the students are coming from enables us to think of routines with respect. For instance, establishing morning meetings where students have opportunities to share how they feel and set intentions for the day sets up a strong culture of expression. Building strong relationships through regular check-ins, both one-on-one and in small groups, can also help students feel seen and valued. As Wyatt Ross points out, these simple conversations can go a long way in making students feel visible and engaged in their learning. Social interaction opportunities are very essential for language development. The collaborative learning activities, such as in cooperative group projects or peer tutoring, not only afford an opportunity to practice their language, but also help build camaraderie amongst students. An example would be the fact that putting an English learner and an English native speaker together for a project makes their environment very supportive, whereby both of them can get the opportunity to learn from each other. This kind of interaction is very important in helping English learners develop confidence in their language abilities while building friendships. Last but not least, SEL strategies are very effective and can be extremely helpful for ELs. Teaching students to identify and describe their feelings by using vocabulary in both English and their heritage or home language helps them work out their emotions in school. This may be through a chart of feelings, which students consult during classroom discussion, or the use of literature on emotional issues, enabling students to reflect upon their feelings and shared experiences. The implementation of these methods creates an environment that is supportive of the EL's needs for academic goals and at the same time fosters emotional and social well-being necessary for them to thrive in school. Relationship building is paramount. And given the much needed attention to checking in with each of your students regularly, an essential part, possibly daily for a teacher multiple times a day. With small conversations, they are then found or feel to be visible and heard, hence supporting their learning process. Family and community practices play a crucial role in the language learning and overall development of English learners. Students come to school with a plethora of experiences, knowledge of the world, and cultural practices that can greatly enrich the school experience. By recognizing and using these funds of knowledge, true links can be formed between home and school to establish a supportive learning environment. One way in which family practices contribute to language learning involves the use of language at home. A great many of the ELs are bi or multilingual. Their proficiency in their home language can be a positive impact on the development of English language skills. Research has also shown that students who maintain their home language have an easier time learning English as they transfer the skills and concepts from their native language. Schools can encourage and support them to do some literacy activities in their home language, such as reading books, telling stories, or discussing daily events. This practice will not only reinforce language skills, but also help in preserving the cultural identity of children. Schools should provide opportunities and support for effective communication in order to establish sound partnerships with families. For example, a regular newsletter in multiple languages to help inform parents about classroom activities, general overall school activities, upcoming events, and ways that parents can support their children's learning at home. The ability to give some kind of tips on how homework is to be helped or on how to practice the English language that they're learning allows them to take an active role in their child's education. Cultural diversity can be demonstrated by hosting family engagement events, such as celebrating cultural heritage at the school. As an example, hosting a cultural exchange night where families can share traditional foods, music, stories that will make the school a social destination and allow truly for students to take pride in their culture and sharing it with their peers. During these types of events, educators should provide resources for parents to understand the system and ways to support their children for academic success. This can build trust and strengthen families and educator relationship. It also is enriched when community members are added in as a resource. For example, it is quite enriching for students when a local community leader or representative of a culture is brought into the classrooms to give a presentation on traditions and experiences. It gives them a broader view of their community and helps them learn more about diversity appreciation. Such mentorship programs could even be extended to the community members for extra support and guidance for ELs through their educational journey. There should be the need to create a welcoming overall school environment, and this would include having multilingual signs at schools, celebrating cultural holidays, and encouraging the teachers to learn more about their students' cultural backgrounds. This Inclusivity Act to show the families that their culture and language are valued would enhance and motivate families to be more involved in their child's education. Schools could also provide parent workshops addressing the needs of EL families through helping children with homework, understanding school expectations, and accessing resources to support language acquisitions. When parents are better equipped with knowledge and strategies to support their children, it strengthens the home connections and bolsters student success. If we recognize the role of family and community practices in the process of language learning, and by actively engaging families in the educational process, we create a more welcoming and inclusive environment in which to educate our ELs. Developing these partnerships has to respect the cultural resources that the students bring into the classroom and promote a whole child approach to their education. Effective involvement of families entails regular communication, encouragement, and an invitation of parents to the classroom and school events so they can participate in activities and are more receptive and responsive to feedback. These strategies indeed can help strengthen our partnerships, but also respect students' cultural backgrounds by emphasizing the different assets students bring to school from home. Using the asset-based approach to teach an English learner will only promote not only academic prosperity, but also a respectful culture of understanding within the school. Together, we are capable of creating this opportunity in every classroom to make every student feel valued and heard and empowered to learn. Thank you for taking the time today to explore some of these ideas with me. Let's continue to celebrate all of our diverse backgrounds and work on ensuring that we are providing inclusion within our learning environment. Thank you.